Craig Pasta is here. Truth time here. Beautiful day, guys. It's a Monday. The sun is shining. I got the sunglasses on. It's a beautiful day, everybody. Welcome back to the TruthWire. It is truth time. I am your host, Craig Pasta, and Fiorella is on assignment, of course. In the background on the Technique 1200s on the ones and twos, Jayme CheeseSlice Isabel is there. And of course, my man, my good friend, my colleague, the guy I love rubbing elbows with in the streets over there, the streets of Chicago, or wherever they may bring us. Ladies and gentlemen, from the homeless left, you know him, you love him, Matt Weinglass.
Thank you, Craig. Good to be here. Start the week off strong today. I'm excited. Let's get into some stuff.
You know, Matt, my future's so bright, I got to wear shades. But I'm going to put them down just for the show so I look a little bit semi-professional over today. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please, we're still dealing with demonetization, suppression, that whole 9 yards. So it really does help us if you hit the like button, if you hit the share button, and we get the show out. We are over on Twitter, Fiorella's Twitter, my Twitter, Matt's Twitter. So we're tweeting it on up. I believe we're also on YouTube, Rumble. Are we still on Rockfin? We are on Rockfin, though. So if the 2 or 3 of you on Rockfin are hanging in there, thank you so much. Wherever you watch us, we appreciate it. Wherever you share it, we appreciate it. And, you know, we're all about discourse. We're all about conversations. So that's what we're going to do. Matt, did you ever feel like nothing's really going on in the news, yet everything is still going on in the news? Because that's the feeling I have today.
Oh, yeah, no, we were looking at that yesterday. Like, oh, man, like it feels like it's calm before the storm, but like things are moving, but they're about to break. So we just have to stay on these moving pieces. But I think you had mentioned to me earlier that, yeah, like the mainstream, they're up to no good. They're just recycling the same garbage. And we're here on the sidelines waiting for the next thing to break. But we have to keep our eye on everything that's brewing because it does feel like a calm before a storm right now.
Well, it's kind of interesting because over the weekend, I did look at some mainstream media. I always tend to peek at it, especially the morning shows. You know, obviously, I shot a pilot for a morning show, which really brought diversity, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, it's people politically diverse, you know, everything from a anti-imperialist leftist like me to a libertarian to a conservative like my man, Gerard Michaels, who we're going to look at a clip of him today because he posed a very interesting question. And when I went to go see his stand-up the other day, our conversation outside was, listen, you have to understand this, Gerard. There is no difference between AOC and Donald Trump. The rhetoric might be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, they serve the same masters. So let's get into it. I don't know if you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene on the floor when she was it wasn't a bill. I shouldn't say bill. It was an amendment to a bill, which cut about $500 million from their Iron Dome defense spending. That's how she worded it. And she uses the term nuclear nation. Now, she doesn't use it to expose Israel. And I think somebody in AIPAC will get a remember, like, hey, not everybody knows that we have nuclear weapons. A lot of us don't, you know, admit to it. She was doing it because she wanted to say they don't need our money. They already have a deterrent from attacking them. They have a nuclear weapon. They don't need all this money. But then she goes into stuff that certain socialists or people who believe in social programs, central planning, they like. So not only did she kind of throw shade against Israel in this bill, she also threw shade against, I would say, capitalism. Matt, your thoughts before we play the video?
Oh, no, she certainly did. And this is another indication that we have this. It's not a right left. It's not this radical left versus a radical right. This is one side, which I won't even want to call it a side anymore. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is the most vocal of her constituents and of her base. And she's calling AOC out on the things that she pretends. And we know her entire career was pretending to represent the people and leftist values. But yeah, these are examples of that. No, even Marjorie Taylor Greene can call these out and show that AOC has been doing right-wing policies, or we'll just say policies for the establishment, not for the people. And it's very clear here as she goes through these bullet points.
Well, we'll get into it. Somebody was asking for Matt Weinglass's Twitter. I am going to put it in the chat. What up, Snow? Good to see you, buddy. What up, Ruth? Love you. Still, all the OGs still coming. It's been a little crazy year and a half. You know, obviously the sanctions that hit RT really sucked for some of us. You know, I used to do Sputnik a lot and RT a lot. I'm still doing RT here and there. I'm doing RT German, and I did crosstalk the other day. But it has been a kind of crazy year, and right now I think we're just trying to hang on, stay relevant. And we'll come out swinging. There's going to be more work from all of us over here, Matt Weinglass, Jayme, and Fiorella. So stick with us. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Guys, all the links are down below the way you can help on out. Thank you so much for all the help, for helping independent media. It means the world. And believe you me, you need it in this mainstream media shithole they have. And not just that, the alternative mainstream media, which is the independent media. Oh, my God. Some of these right-wingers, these conservatives, we'll get to that. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Weinglass, Pastor Jardula. Thank you for watching today.
Israel bombed a Catholic church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need, and we haven't had for a very long time. Israel bombed a Catholic.
What do you think about that universal health care from the right wing? What do you think about that free college, something her party has fought strongly against for quite some time? We can't do that. We can't allow socialism in there. Your thoughts?
So we got to be clear on her language. So she knows what she's doing here. Her language is basically using the universal health care that we are funding to a foreign nation and saying that is unacceptable, especially because her party doesn't generally push those bills here. But AOC's the one that's being called out here because she's the one that's funding this thing, and yet quote unquote championing universal health care here in the States, which never has any traction at all. So if anything, Marjorie Taylor Greene has an opportunity here, which it looks like she took, to call out the dysfunction of this system, giving our money to a foreign country, giving them universal health care. She's not actually saying in this clip that she wants that here. She's saying, let's bring the money back and be about American defense. And then you got AOC basically left out being the big hypocrite here because she's pushing a bill that keeps continuing to give money for healthcare in a foreign nation and not here at all. But yet she runs on that every single time.
I don't know. I kind of agree with you. Remember, this was before the vote, right? This was before AOC voted for it. And we'll get to that. I mean, that's just holy cow, guys. AOC, Donald Trump, serving the same masters. The rhetoric might look a little bit different. But, wrestling does look real sometimes. And there is a lot of pain in wrestling. But at the end of the day, it's fake. They know who's going to win. Unless you're Bret the Hitman Hart and Vince McMahon throws it on you. But then you get a real punch in the back for doing that to the Hitman. But listen, I feel that when she was saying that stuff, that she was kind of leaning in towards it a little bit. I don't think it was just about saying, oh, they have that, we're paying for it. I was getting the sense is like, if we don't pay them, then we can have that for ourselves. I think she has a lot of constituents in her district that have, are going without proper health care. And you're hearing more and more about that every single day. And, if Europe has that system and all our allies have that system and everybody we give money to, why can't we have that system? I think that today, Marjorie Taylor Greene today could be talked into a public option. And I think she could be probably talked into universal college for junior schools or whatever, what do you call those? The community schools, right? The local schools. I don't think she wants to give money to the universities anymore because, she probably sees them as, just wasteful and ridiculous and teaching woke things. So I think that she would want to put handcuffs on there. All right, if we're going to give them their money, what are they going to teach? What are they going to do? And I think she would also do what I've always wanted to do. I've never wanted to do debt wipe out for college students across the board because I thought people who went to trade schools and spent money to get other careers at the same age, they're getting left out in the cold. I've always wanted to get a stipend across the board for the whole generation to take care of that. You know what I'm saying? But the way we cut that down is if we have community colleges that are funded by the government, you know what I'm saying, forcing these universities to go down because these other kids are like, fuck this, I'm not going to go and spend $60,000 a year. I don't know. I got that sense there. What did you feel about the nuclear-armed Israel? Because somebody said in the chat that they feel like she's calling them out for nuclear-armed Israel. When I got it is the only reason why she was saying is like they have nukes. No, that's the biggest deterrent. We don't have to fund their Iron Dome. That deterrent. We've already funded them $8.7 billion anyways.
Well, look, I think at some point you might make a case that you could talk her into it. It's not today. I think today is about calling out the hypocrisy of where our money's going. And if any of her right-wing colleagues are looking at this, they would be appalled, especially the ones that are against universal health care, because she's saying, why are we funding this thing that we don't even want here, and we're giving it over to a foreign nation? It doesn't make any sense. So she's calling out the hypocrisy there. And of course, people like AOC who push for universal health care here is now saying, yes, let's keep giving them more money in Israel. So that's a complete, obviously an exposure of that hypocrisy. But I don't think we're ready to sit down and have a conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene about.
All right, we got to get a microphone on.
But everything you spelled out, Craig, obviously we've been champion. We believe in those things. But I think this is a step process. This is a moment to get everyone, to wake people up to where all of our money's been going year after year, $3.8 billion. Time and time again, way before October 7th, we've been funneling money into the military occupation and the Israel first, not America first. And that's what she's saying in this speech. She's saying, bring the money back here for America's defense.
Well, we did definitely get a different read on it. I'm going to tweet at her right now. Let's watch the AOC stuff now. Let's bring up AOC's tweet and what she had talked about, because remember the Performance Act on the floor crying in front of Nancy Pelosi, right? Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel, nor end the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza. Of course, I voted against it. What it does do is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities. Right now, I hear Bernie Sanders right behind her going, Israel has a right to defend itself, while the actual bombing, killing Palestinians to continue. I have long stated that I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to its end. That is simple and clear. That is a simple, clear, and difference of opinion that has been long established. I remain focused on cutting the flow of U.S. munitions that are being used to perpetuate, the genocide in Gaza. I mean, she admits that it's a genocide. I have one question for you. I can sit here, start dissecting this, but I'm going to leave it to you, Matt Weinglass. Please make this make sense.
Well, I'll have to say, I completely agree with AOC, because as we know, with Nazi Germany, the Nazis had a right to defend themselves as well. So we would certainly want Hitler to have all of the money possible to defend itself from the Allies. So that's basically what she's saying here. So we have to be on board with that. No, it doesn't make any effing sense. And I don't know how to make it make sense. I think that she thinks she can throw out the G word at the end there and get kudos points from people that aren't paying attention. But what she's not saying. What she's not saying is, I do not have the ability to vote against this because of my handlers. That's it. Case closed. There's no other thing going on here. There's no other maneuvering of a point that she can make. If we had her on the show right now, she wouldn't come on the show. This is what we know about her. She doesn't go on any shows that call this out, because she's going to get herself right into a corner and can't get out of it. This is the kind of stuff she's been doing her entire career. And if for once we could get one honest tweet from her, maybe on the way out the door, maybe when she's ready to give up politics and move on, she'll give us one honest tweet that says, I'm sorry, I can't do anything that I said I would do because of my handlers. And that's why I'm here in the first place. So sorry, guys, it's been a big scam the entire time. I have to continue funding Israel. That's what I'm here to do. There's no way around it. But at least I gave you the G word. Did that sound good? Did that feel good when I said genocide? I hope it did, because that's all I can do.
Nice. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, here's, first of all, let's do this real quick. We just tweeted at Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I want to, maybe she'll let me share it real quick. It's very simple. I just asked her, Marjorie Taylor Greene, would you consider voting for a public option for our healthcare system? Thoughts? Somebody send that to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see what she says. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I kind of got that from that. Listen, there's a lot of conservatives that I hate socialism. They don't want the up and down control of what's going on, but they get their Social Security. They get their health care. They get their benefits. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes they don't even realize that they're buying into a healthcare system. And since every single, industrialized country out there has a healthcare system, except for guess who? Us. I don't know. I think there's wiggle room. And I know we're making more of it. The story itself is all about AOC voting against this and Marjorie Taylor Greene putting it out here. I mean, I think it's crazy. Now Tlaib voted for it too as well, I believe, and Ilhan Omar, Thomas Massey. I can't remember who the other two are, but I expected them to go vote for that too as well. But and then again too, Rashida Tlaib has been said, I'm not going to support Hamas alone. Back in the days, way before this conflict, she's always played that part and found herself a reason to have one foot out the door. We haven't had anybody really. The guy who's been the strongest as far as pushing back against the Zionist nation has been Thomas Massey, always. Now we have Marjorie Taylor Greene coming to the show, and I think it's so crazy. Up is down, down is up, for the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you got Matt Gaetz over there on OAN, talking against that. So it's a very interesting thing. I know a lot of people went to town on AOC. You got any final thoughts before we get on to the next subject? Because the next subject is going to take up some time.
Here's my final thought. I think, and this will lead into our next segment as well. But I think that the right-wing populists, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Matt Gaetz and all the others that have had enough of Trump's Zionist policies and deep state policies, I think that they're loud and they're showing courage and they're doing things we never saw the left do when Biden and went against everything, not to mention Obama, went against everything of the values of the left. So that part's good. The unfortunate part, Craig, and this goes back to your point of thinking maybe today we can talk her into some ideas that maybe outside of the American exceptionalist, American capitalist, imperialist model, which would be kind of moving over to where we are. I think we're so far from that. So again, they're very vocal. I give them props for being having courage to be loud, but they're so far away from where we are. And I think it's going to take a lot of time. I think it can happen, but it's going to take a lot of time, because even when a right-wing populist gets rid of the two-party duopoly in their mind, they still haven't detached from the American capitalist system that they're still aligned with. They cannot live without it. They cannot live without it, Craig, where we are able to detach from our side and not still be bound to a system that we cannot see outside of. And so I think that's going to be the big obstacle that we still have to bring them through. But again, great first start, calling out the Israel first BS. And we just need to take it from there, baby steps. But maybe one day we can all align with a real populist movement from both sides all together.
Yeah, I got to also say that, the big, beautiful bill went through, cuts to Medicare were all across the board there, or Medicaid, excuse me, even across, like I said, across the board, different states. They've lowered the amount of money you can make now. It's like even more ridiculous. And I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene's constituents said some stuff about that. I really do believe that I believe that even though these hardcore conservative capitalists, they understand that if we're going to send money out to all these other countries, we can spend money on our own people here. I think they have that same type of logic. But at the end of the day, they are concerned with government getting bigger. So that would be another thing that they have to handle. But, she's also dealt with a lot of people who are anti-COVID and don't like the healthcare industry as a whole. And they want to see enough is enough. And they see the advantages, the greed, the weaponization of the healthcare system against its own citizens. Guys, I want to thank you all for coming in today. I'm here with Matt Weinglass. This is the TruthWire. It is truth time. Fiorella is on assignment, and Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos. Oh my God, this is a fun section. Man, let's just get into it. I'm going to start with my friend. Well, he's not my friend, but I used to play his video back in the days in COVID. His name is Chris Sky. He was a Republican conservative kid from guy, I should say man, I shouldn't say kid, from Canada, and he gave this famous talking about what they're doing in COVID before it even happened, laying it out, how the government wants to control you, and they're going to do this, and how people are going to comply and wear their mask and take their shot and get in line. And I think somebody titled it, check out Bro Stradamus, because he was wearing cut sleeves. He likes to go work out. Well, he was running around with a few conservatives not too long ago. He was in the States. I was supposed to meet him at these awards that I never went to, and he got honored in a special little award. But, you know, he is not holding back. He's one of those guys who's calling out Donald Trump. He used the term Trumptard the other day. I don't know who used it first, me or him. But this is Chris Sky. And I love this here, too, because people have to understand this, because this is something we used to talk about all the time. When people go, when Donald Trump says it's a hoax, I mean, that's disgusting. There are banks that have already paid out close to 300 victims. 300 victims that we already know about. You know how many we don't know about? I mean, they are losing their shit on this one. And, you know, this is the one right now. We talked about this before, Matt, you know, because this conservative fallout is still going on and hasn't stopped. Every day they're doing it. Have you seen the lights with Donald Trump like on the wall, and they show the Epstein list? Then he grabs it, he puts it in his mouth, and you know what I'm saying? Like he's swallowing the evidence. Yeah, they're out there. This is not going to stop. This is Chris Sky. Listen to this. He drops numbers here. He drops facts.
Everybody, and I'm going to say what needs to be said like I always do. It's very simple. The Jeffrey Epstein scandal is now the single biggest and most important scandal in the history of the United States of America. Yes, that's a big claim. And yes, I can explain it quite easily. First of all, what is the worst possible crime in the entire world? I think virtually everybody would agree that it's torturing, raping, and murdering children and trafficking them and their organs and body parts for profit. So we're dealing with the most heinous crimes. Who's implicated in this? The highest levels of not only the American government, but of governments all around the world, the royal family like Prince Andrew, a whole slew of judges and lawyers and other people in powerful positions, and the banks. I don't know how many of you know this, but JP Morgan Chase had to pay out 2 separate lawsuits, one for $75 million on behalf of one of their executives, Jay Staley, for his connections to Epstein and the money they know he was making off of Epstein's trafficking. $75 million for one fucking dude. Then they had to pay an extra $290 million for hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So these were victims that were raped, trafficked, and actually were able to come forward because they hadn't been killed and haven't gone missing. So this is only a fraction of them. And they got paid $290 million US, just a few hundred of them. Then Deutsche Bank had to pay out $90 million to another few hundred, totaling 275 victims known of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And then Donald Trump has the audacity to say that there's no evidence and this is a conspiracy theory, when both Epstein and Maxwell were convicted of trafficking people. And Maxwell pleaded guilty. Guilty. She didn't even deny the charges. And she's the daughter of a Mossad agent. And they were both working for the Mossad. So please tell me how this is not the largest and most important scandal in U.S. history when it embroils the entire U.S. government all the way up to the president, the royal family, the most powerful and wealthy bankers in the country, the most powerful and wealthy people in the country, and government officials from all around the world. Please tell me any scandal in world history that is bigger, all-encompassing, has to do with children getting murdered, tortured, and raped, and has to do with the freedom of the free world. Because we all know that they're getting blackmailed. We all know that they're doing things that aren't in your best interest. But tell me again how any other scandal is bigger than this. Release the Epstein files.
Yeah, see, and the files is what you have to say, right? There's a list. Was that implicating a list of names written down? No, there's files. Like we have, you know, if people don't understand the Epstein situation, we did a lot of this. Listen, you go back to you can go to the TruthWire right now. Just hit videos, hit popular. You're gonna have a video out there 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. You know what it's called? It's called Jeffrey Epstein and Mossad: The Family Connections. Just what they're talking about today. Just what they're saying right here. We talked about this 6-7 years ago. This isn't old news. The first paper to ever report on Jeffrey Epstein was the West Palm Beach Post, right? And they were looking the other way on the situation. A lot of people knew who Jeffrey Epstein was. It's obviously had connections. You go back to the Attorney General Acosta, who, when he was asked if he was told to leave him alone, it was pretty much signaled, yeah, you can't touch him. He's above your pay grade. You do whatever. We have, close to 40, 50, I think, passports, all with different names that could have been issued by anybody except an Mossad or a CIA agent. It was the West Palm Beach Post that started doing some reporting, and it was 2 lone cops that forced this whole situation, right? Now, the reason why there's 275 paid off victims right now is so that they can't speak, right? They got to sign the NDA. You're going to take these millions. You're going to say nothing. Statazi, shut the fuck up. We're going to suppress it down. That's how long this is being suppressed. But to this day, this is, this to me is one of the most disgusting things that Donald Trump could have done. Really, to tell you the truth, like, you're going to go and your only accomplishment is terrorizing the immigrant community. And you got to make sure that you deport and arrest, Jose for selling tacos because he's a criminal. But all the criminals in the Jeffrey Epstein case, meaning all the clients, the one that Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in prison jail for trafficking children to nobody, that's what we wanted. That's what the Trump people depended upon. He campaigned on this stuff. We're going to start arresting people and exposing people. He didn't. He's instead covering it up, Matt.
So, yeah, we've tried to figure out why would Trump put himself in this position? And I think he fully underestimated the severity of this case, as he said in the what's the guy's name again? It's that you just played, the
Chris Sky.
Sky, yeah. So
Nostradamus, bro.
Nostradamus, bro. Yeah. So he said this is the biggest scandal of our time. This is the one, and it's not because Jeffrey Epstein is this unique person, this unique bad apple, which Trump tried to brush off as he's already dead. It's over. Come on, guys. Who cares about this piece of crap? It's done. No, he represents something much, much larger. This is the gateway to the people finally figuring out what we've been gaslighted about our entire lives. It's not just about Epstein Island. This is about an underground sex trafficking ring, a child pedophilia, and like he said, describing the worst of the worst. What's the worst thing we could possibly think of? And it's the torture and the harvesting of body parts and this whole underground system, this syndicate. It's been around for years, and we know this has been around for years. If Trump thought that he could just brush this aside as another bad apple story, hey, he's gone, whatever. No, it's not over. And I think he's absolutely right. We're in a time now where people's feet are going to be held to the fire. The same people that ran on, we're going to give you guys the files, not the list. You're 100% right about that, Pasta. It's not the list. No one cares
every
about
fucking email, every phone call. The FBI, the local FBI was forced to go in there. They have tapes. Listen, they're like, oh, we can't show you any of the video because it's children having sex. No, we want to see the video of the people out in the living room walking into the room so we know who walked into those rooms. We can see that. They're not giving it to us. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you can also black out this. We don't need to see the thing. We need to see incrimination of powerful people on camera. Like you said, either walking into the room or you can black out part of the room. But the point is, we know those files exist. We know there's very high-end, prominent world leaders in those videos. We know they exist. The pictures, videos, countless amount of them. They all have seen them. They're all on the FBI. They have it in their possession. Trump's seen them. Bongino's seen them. All of them have seen them. Pambondi, Patel, they've all seen them. And we know they're lying. And the base knows they're lying. The people who voted for them know they're lying. And they're not going to let it go. So what happens next? That's the interesting part. Trump can continue to play the card of, hey, we got through this crap. This whole Democrat, remember the Democratic psyop, remember Russiagate? This is just another radical left attempt to make stuff up and make us look bad. No, the Trumpers are not falling for this, and this is certainly not going away.
Yeah. The next one is good. Matt, Jayme, play the second one first. I messed up the order. Play the second one first. Everybody loves Nick Fuentes, right? That should be a show. Everybody hates Chris. Everybody loves Nick, right? Nick Fuentes. Oh my God. Watch this epic rant. This is great. Guys, right-wing voices are still upset about Epstein. Here's another one. We had Chris Sky. Here's Nick Fuentes.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. Fuck you. Fuck you. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watch my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were. When we look back in history, we will see Trump as a scam artist who served as a vehicle for this rather than the other way around. We were not the vehicle for Trump. Trump was the vehicle for all of us.
Boom. And let's just jump right to the other one, because the other one, he does kind of relate. He says what we've been saying for quite some time. Like right now, when I get my conservative friends that supported Trump, I put my hand on their shoulder and say, it's okay. We had Obama. We got fooled. Yeah, but it's the lesser of two evils. We said the same thing too as well. We said it. It was our ego. We didn't want to. Yeah, we came to grips. What's going to happen if the other side gets in charge and stuff like that? And we knew about it early too.
We invented this.
When Barack Obama came out and said, we found out that there was a list given to him by Citibank picking his cabinet, we knew right then and there. We ignored it. We denied it. We were in denial. Denial just ain't a river in Egypt. It was in the Democratic base because we had supported a guy and we kept telling ourselves stuff we needed to do to give us the copium to move on with this. Well, he's the lesser of two evils. Well, racism is better. Oh, this is bringing the country together. Oh, he's going to be a peace president. And then all of a sudden, Syria, Libya, Guatemala, it's like, it was like, holy shit. And voted for him twice, like a lot of you guys did too. Yep. But now it's the time, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care about you. There is no difference when it comes to policy and serving the same masters as AOC and Donald Trump. You can see what they did. She just did, right? Marianne Adelson probably told her to vote that way. It's a scam. The whole thing, the establishment. And yes, the MAGA movement, probably one of the biggest scams. Tell me where he's lying, Matt.
Well, first I'll say, look, we were the original 60 chess. We didn't say the term, but we were the original. We gave that excuse to Obama, right? Even when I think I feel so bad about actually thinking when I originally saw the footage of him going to Flint, Michigan, sitting down there, drinking that water.
There
was still this part of me thinking he must have to go through this, but he's sending a wink to them that he's going to go do something and he's going to get back to them. It's this long game he has to play. So we were the original 60 chess champions, and we did it again for Bernie. We said, why is he not saying anything after Hillary screwed him? Oh, he's playing the long game. So we were the original 60, 70, 8D chess. So we tell our MAGA friends now, guys, we've seen this before. It's happening again. It just happened to you. If the one thing, before you play the next clip of Nick Fuentes, I'll say the one thing he kind of got wrong there, I don't say he got wrong, but he kind of brushed by it because it's not really his concern. So he kind of brushed it by. But he said the liberals were right. But here's the thing. They were right. Like broken clock is right twice a day, right? Absolutely. Because the liberals do not know exactly how the MAGAs were scammed. They have no clue at the level of the scam, because the real scam is that the deep state, which Trump pretended or thought or whatever thought he could take on, it is him. It consumed him. It's the virus. It's the blob. It's the thing. And so the liberals do not understand that, because if they were to fully get that, then they'd have to start looking inward and say, oh, damn, this same thing, the same blob has infected every one of our candidates our entire lifetimes. They're not even nearly ready to do that. So, yeah, they were right, but they think they were right about it.
I don't think they were right, period. I don't think they were right, period. Matt, you hit something there, because their version of right is that their guy is the lesser of two evils. Well, that's the thing. They're not willing to do what Nick is doing right now. Yeah. There's still people that would never call out Barack Obama. There's a lot of people out there that would never call out the Clintons or Joe Biden and won't admit that their voting for Joe Biden was wrong. At least Nick Fuentes is doing that. But you're right. I think he's just wrong across the board because the liberals weren't right because their whole argument is that you have to vote for the Democrats, Team Blue, instead of Team Red. And as we know, that's the dead end.
Yeah, they were broken clock right, but they think it's that Trump was the fascist Nazi that they warned everyone about, when we know it's much bigger than Trump and his racist tendencies and his like fascism, wanting to be the next Hitler. So none of that checks out.
Womanizing.
Yeah.
Grab him in the pussy.
Yeah.
Play the next video, Jayme. We got Nick Fuentes talks about, and he hits a point here that I think is very important. That's why I wanted to play both videos. Maybe now it's time to walk away. What do you think? Give it a roll.
It's just shocking how much of a disaster it is. And I don't know how anybody else is left defending it. How can you look at that? At the minimum, you got to say this is just like a horrible look. Get over it. Stop talking about Epstein. There is no list. How can anybody look at that and say this is okay? Mm-hmm. And I hope everybody starts jumping ship after this, because it's time to move on. Clearly. And I don't know what comes next, but it's not Trump. It can't be J.D. Vance. It can't be anybody affiliated with this train wreck. It has to be something completely new. Now you get it. Now you know why I was interested in Andrew Yang in Yay 24. Why I didn't vote in 2025. It's because this MAGA movement, it's tapped. It's done. They have become the very thing they sought to destroy. They have become the enemy. The tables have turned, and now they are this evil establishment. And for all the rhetoric, for all the promises that were made, the excitement, it's going to be like a Creed concert. We're going to do things. Amazing things are happening every day, they said. And what are we getting now? We're getting shit and pissed on every single day. I'm not. I didn't. Look, don't blame me. I voted for Adolf Hitler. I voted for Yay. I voted for Hail Hitler by Yay. I didn't vote for this.
Nick Fuentes.
But
being
you know
Nick
what?
Fuentes.
The good news is at least Ben Shapiro's happy. Ben Shapiro seems to be having a great time. I'm just glad he's satisfied, because that's clearly who this is all for.
Wow. Well, that was code for saying, and there is arguments that Nick Fuentes gets very anti-Semitic at times. There's a lot of people who tend to use the term Jews instead of Zionists, and I bump heads with them. I've even bumped heads with Mike Rechtenwall for this. Dan Blazarian does that shit. Marion Gaines. There's a whole slew of them out there. And the reason why I'm mentioning those names is because I think they're watering down our messages about, what the state of Israel is doing. It's more about Zionism than Jews, but I don't want to go there real quick. But I mean, there is something that we hear all the time. How many times did the conservatives complain about the fact that the liberals, the shit libs, the woke, they're calling Donald Trump Hitler, and that's just ridiculous. This is terrible. They got to stop it. But during the Gulf War, during the Iraq War, I spent many Thanksgivings at the table with uncles and different family members who were calling Saddam Hussein a modern-day Hitler, justifying that war. It was the same language they used, and they used it before the left used it. They want to talk about right now in the election integrity groups, they still want to talk about 2020. And Donald Trump says, we got to investigate the crimes of the 2020. Now, I'll tell you right now, I thought it was an unfair election. Definitely think it was fixed. Definitely think they swinged it. I think they did it on purpose so that people could see it, because it's very divisive. But these conservatives in these groups now that are all Trump people that want to fix elections don't want to talk about what George Bush Jr. did to steal 2 elections. One from John Kerry in Ohio, and the first one from Al Gore in Florida. They don't want to talk about it. It's the same party. It's a uniparty doing the same thing. So, I don't know if he really kind of pointed it out. He mentioned Ye. He mentioned Andrew Yang, but I would have liked him to say enough is enough of this 2-party illusion. They're working for the same people. Your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, no, he could have gone a little longer with the go back in time, because historical context is so important. And like we all know that Trump, his big moment, his moment of coming in the, basically became the MAGA guy. That moment happened in 2015 when he was on that stage with the other Republican nominees, and he called out Jeb Bush standing on that stage of the Bush and Cheney regime. Yeah. And so I'm sure I would guess that Nick would certainly talk about that if he just added it into his monologue. I think that's very important, because we got to say, well, where did this MAGA hopefulness come from? And they, all of the excuses about why he couldn't get all this stuff done the first time. Well, he was new to politics. He didn't fully understand. He had to figure it out. He had to understand that John Bolton and Mike Pompeo were these horrible people that were deceiving him. Well, he figured it out now. And then he even said, oh, I got to keep your friends close, your enemies closer. And he's going to go in the second time. He's going to take care of business. But like you said, that is the same machine. The Dick Cheney, George W. Bush is the same machine. And we know that it's not the same Trump that was standing on that stage, because when he was on that stage in 2015, he was not officially a politician yet. He was running to become a politician. So he could get away with doing that. And it certainly got people's ears. It got their attention. And it made them say, wow, no one's called this out before. And that's how he got started. So I think, yeah, we need more of that historical context in play here. But yeah, and nothing. Hey, look, let's not take anything away from the fact, like you said, the election it looks like it was stolen in 2020. It looks like the judicial system was worked against him by Biden during, all the 34 felonies. It looked like there was a lot of stuff that was worked against him. And I feel, not to mention the Hillary Clinton, the Steele dossier and all the stuff that her and Obama teaming up to stop him. So it's not to take away from any of that. They just had their own plans. It's kind of like deep state infighting. Who's going to be the person? Who's it going to be? They really wanted Hillary. Well, that didn't work out. She wasn't the best person to do it. And so now we've switched it up, and here we go. It's still deep state. Again, not to take away from what they were trying to do to the guy, or what they got away with to a degree in 2020, but here we are now. And like he said, Nick says, this is the reality that we have to face. This is the thing that you said you were fighting is the thing that consumed you. So here we are. We need something new, something completely different.
Yeah. Unlike Trump, I believe that that Epstein list is for real, or that Epstein files are for real. There were clients. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was a thing.
Yep.
I completely believe that Butler was fake now. Let's get to the cuck of the week, because we got a cuck over here. Alex Jones wins this cuck of the week for sure. He went on Bannon the other day, and man, still talk about a guy holding on, Matt. 16 D chess, or whatever you want to call it, 8 D chess. Take a look at this here. We won't play the whole thing. I'll tell you when to stop it, but this is the cuck of the week. I had a cock sound. Here it is, Alex Jones on Steve Bannon.
The media, I get this morning, the media is reporting that you've divorced yourself from President Trump. I think it's probably farthest from the truth. Can you just explain to the audience for a second this Epstein situation and your ongoing relationship with the president and supporting his policies and him?
Absolutely. I'd love to clarify that. CNN, Wall Street Journal, the front of Drudge was basically the Democrat Party mouthpiece. Jones divorces Trump. Trump divorces him and anybody else that questions Epstein. That is totally not true. They've taken little short clips out of context, as they always do. I love the president. He has incredible courage. He's getting so much done on the economy, the border, national security. They're really ramping up deportations. They're now found 30,000 of the missing children, and prosecutions are beginning. They've fired Maureen Comey, that ran with her father, the Epstein case cover-ups on record. So we're really seeing a lot of traction. And in many ways, Trump's doing better than I thought he would do in his first 170 days. But the PR handling of this now 12 days ago, when they slip out this memo to Axios, the globalist mouthpiece, and say he didn't, Epstein wasn't murdered, there was no blackmail rings, basically Epstein didn't basically even jaywalk, and none of this exists, this needs to go away. That's a 180 from everything that the record shows and what Trump and his surrogates have been saying that they were going to do. And I simply said, this is a disaster. And I said, I believe Trump just wants to move on from this. And I said that last Monday when it was all breaking. I surmised that we know the Democrats have had this file. They're not going to leave stuff in there that incriminates them. And the whole history of it, it's 90+% Democrats and globalists like Bill Gates, that are heavily involved in the island and all the, stuff that's going on. And so as soon as the FBI raided back in March, the New York FBI, when they wouldn't turn over the files, I believe that was a setup. And they dropped a dime on themselves and said, oh, there's 14 terabytes of all these kids being raped and Epstein raping them and all the rest of it. And then Pam Bondi gets it, gives it to the FBI, which I confirmed from sources. They sent it out to all the offices around the country to look at the file. They come back and say, there's a bunch of FBI reports and implicating, people in the orbit of Trump with no real evidence. And then Trump went, what the hell, another Russiagate. And so he didn't clarify that the first few days. He just said, people need to basically shut this down. It's bull. And then he hasn't really clarified when he says it's a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. He's not saying that the Epstein isn't a bad guy and that he wasn't involved in all this evil stuff with the deep state with no connections to Trump that are based in any reality. He just says it's a hoax. People go, well, wait, Epstein's not a hoax because Lane was convicted of this very stuff. And, he'd been charged with it and was convicted once 15, 16 years ago of lesser charges in Florida. So Trump, I think, needs to be very clear that, no, the Epstein case and the evil he did is very real, but they've been in control of this file, Brennan Clapper and all the rest of them, and it makes total sense that they falsified all these other records, the Crossfire Hurricane, the Steele dossier, all run by Obama. Clapper.
Well, are we going to hang on? Are we going to get into the back of that by having a special prosecutor? I mean, they're supposed to declassify a certain document.
That guy just says bullshit. Thank you.
Perfect timing for that one. Thank you, Jayme. Great job. That is the real reason we have that that clip there to begin with. And by the way, I put this up here. Where's he at? No, not that. Move that. It's not. There it is. No, here it is. This is it. The cope is. Get that out of there. What are you doing? The cope is strong with this one. It says right there. Matt, I listen. He was just doing mental gymnastics over there. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Some of these people. I mean, Bannon himself too, making excuses. But Bannon, of course, I expected to make excuses because he's a hardcore Zionist, and he knows who they're covering up for. They know who Donald Trump is covering up for. And not only the Zionists. We're talking about global elites. There are other people from other nations out there that took advantage of the situation. Like we said, 275 victims right now are already on record of being compensated for from different banks for their ties to Jeffrey Epstein years and years and years ago. So we know Jeffrey Epstein was also convicted. He took a honeypot deal for his pedophilia. Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in a prison. She pled guilty, so she's sitting there. I mean, this is sad for InfoWars and Alex Jones. I mean, this is just, I've never been crazy about the dude, but this is sad, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically, blathering about excuse after excuse about everything Trump should have done or could have done or would have done and did it wrong. And he's basically saying the guy doesn't know how to speak. He needs to get better at words, get better at being on camera. This guy's master at being on camera, master at words. He knows sound bites. So for Alex Jones to sit there and say that Trump forgot, or it slipped his mind, or he was under pressure, he forgot to spell it out and explain what you meant by there's no files. Explain what you meant by this is a Democratic radical left Russiagate-ish attack on you and your base. Explain it, because you have the words. You just haven't. Someone's got to sit down and coach you how to be on camera and how to do sound. See, and it's so pathetic because he's trying to find his words. It's Alex Jones that needs to have a class on how to. He needs to find the right soundbite, because he just blathered for several minutes and didn't really say much of anything except, like you said, Craig, he's just making excuses for what we're seeing happen in real time. Is we're seeing this is a moment. This is a significant reveal that is happening where he's looking at us and telling us there's nothing to see here when there's everything to see here. And when you start attacking your own base, as Fuentes said earlier, and calling them names, now you've gone completely off the plank. You're done. You've lost control of the narrative, and he can go to do his little crazy tweet outs on Truth Social and pretend that he's winning the game against the radical lefties, but he's not winning the game against his own base, and that's going to continue. And it's very clear. And Alex Jones, like you said, InfoWars is in trouble. If Alex Jones can continue to stand behind this guy and not say, dude, you have been psyop yourself, you have been captured, you need to get a hold of yourself and do the thing not only that you ran on, but you've been promising the entire way, and we know you've all seen it. You're all in on it. Yep. So step up to the plate or get the hell out of here. That's what he should be doing, but he won't.
He did say it is a disaster. I agree with him. Nick Fuentes, that this is a whole disaster. This is one of the biggest scams. It is, man. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, we had our scam with Obama. We were hoping change. He's going to go up to Wall Street. Nah, Citibank picks his banks, right? You know, and everybody gets to walk the Big Short. Remember? You know, nobody really gets held accountable. Well, you know, he's going to end the wars. What happened in Syria and Libya alone? Fucking disaster. Continue the policies of the conservatives before him. In Junior, when it comes to Venezuela, when it came to Nicaragua, when it came to Cuba. I mean, he loosened a little bit up on Cuba, but he really didn't make any serious systemic change. You know, we're going to get jobs. We're going to get jobs over here. No. Well, at least he's going to be very nice to the immigrants. No, he deported more immigrants than, Donald Trump. And it still is weird to me to see people like Alex Jones and other people. It's not weird. I mean, it's expected, but it just really still is odd. It makes me think that they need a therapy when they want to say, and he's ramping up deportations. Like, why are you guys so fascinated with deportations? Like, you probably don't even see an immigrant, but once a month that might come into your life, and that's probably cleaning something up after you or dropping off food or doing some type of work in your society. It's just weird seeing that stuff. But listen, Alex Jones isn't the only cuck. Donnie Jr., Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. I mean, Cash, dude, let's watch this video over here. You've probably seen this clip. It's a little bit old, but I also want to follow it up with Donnie Jr.'s tweet because very cuckish, if you ask me.
My father could be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light. I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right? But it's almost like they're trying to protect those pedophiles for some reason. I can't imagine why, right?
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism, is the way that I put it. But we
release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
In this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
I'm not ever going to let this story go because of what I heard from a source about Bill Clinton on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not letting it go ever. Ever.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Yeah, they're still talking about it, Donald Trump, because you said you were going to bring it to justice, that we were going to take on the deep state, and now you're defending the same people. Like Nick Fuentes says, you become what you used to hate. You're defending the people who are doing the crimes against humanity, and now you're on their side. I mean, this is just sad. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, so there's one part that I think connects all this that we should have seen this coming, because there's a history already these first 6 months before they told us that there was no list, there was no files. The pattern that we saw, and it's similar to the pattern we saw back in Obama, and we talked about our experience with Obama and our experience with Bernie. The pattern is that nobody ever goes to jail. That's it. So the only people who go to jail are people without power, right? You get ICE in the streets, you round up people who can't defend themselves, and you call that justice. And that's the justice you get. You don't get justice from powerful people going to jail. It never happens. And so when Obama did this with the illegal torture program, the Guantanamo Bay, and the lying us into a war that killed 1 million Iraqis, nobody went to jail. Okay, so here we're experiencing this again, And the sign that we should have seen this coming, I would say this, if people forgot about this one, but I think it was just about a month previously, you had RFK Jr. sitting down in the room with Trump and the whole gang. And he said on camera, hey, we looked into the HHS, what the previous administration had been doing with the organization and how it had been functioning. And we determined that Biden's HHS was participating in child sex trafficking at the border. And we had to do something about it. So we lost 300,000 kids. I mean, people don't remember this just happened. 300,000 kids are missing. But we cleaned it up. So I want everyone to know in the room that we looked into it. We got rid of all those people that were doing this. They're gone. We just have to find the kids. And then that story kind of went away. So when I saw that, I was like, we covered this on the Homeless Live, and we said, look, right there, you're telling us there's 300,000 missing kids from the border. You're telling us that Biden was part of this operation involved child sex trafficking. And yet again, nobody's going to jail. That's the giveaway right there. And that's the thing that we should be up in arms. And it shouldn't have taken until Pam Bondi told us there's no list for us to say, that's it. You guys are lying to us. We know you're lying to us when no one goes to jail. We know Obama was lying to us. We know Bernie was lying to us. They're always lying to us because nobody goes to jail. That's it.
Nobody's ever held accountable. But he's playing 4D chess, Matt. You don't understand what's going on. Donald Trump Jr.'s tweet. I don't care how hard you try Donnie Jr. So they, after the whole backlash, after that, we're still, go ahead, put it up, Jayme. You're still talking about Epstein? What's going on? All right, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now. The more he says that, the more hot water he puts himself in. And what does Donnie Jr. say? LFG. Like, yeah, please, Donnie, no matter how hard you try, you're done. Your daddy's cooked. Your bullshit is over, right? You know what I'm saying? It's done. MAGA is done. It might kind of hold on for some people out there who really aren't that too politically involved. I saw somebody with a Make America Great Again hat on the other day. He's still wearing it. I saw another guy wearing one at the supermarket. So there's your holdouts, your holdovers. They were older guys, you know what I'm saying, that still believe that our institutions work and whatnot. The next clip I have is Gerard Michaels. Gerard Michaels is a comedian, and he shot a pilot with me. I met him at the Libertarian Convention. Jayme was with me when we met him. Big dude, comic, stand-up comedian, awesome, funny, great stuff. He made a video about what's going on. I call him a common sense conservative because since this whole debacle there, he was calling out Donald Trump on his particular lack of getting this out there properly for the people to have transparency on what happened with these files. Here's Gerard, but he raises some interesting points that we're going to talk about, Matt. And I'll give you the first crack when we get back out here. I'll set the table for you, ask the question, and let you roll. This is Gerard Michaels. Listen to what he's saying.
Things happening in our government right now is Donald Trump is committing political suicide with his handling of the Epstein files. And Democrats aren't capitalizing on it, almost intentionally so. Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, MAGA, all of it just getting destroyed, rightfully so. No high-ranking Democrats, not Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, not Nancy Pelosi. None of them are calling for the immediate release of the files. That's odd. The people deserve to know whether or not their government has been, A, compromised by foreign governments like Israel in a blackmail operation, and B, if we are being run by a cabal of corrupt aristocracy of pedophiles. We deserve to know that. And no, people are not going to just give it up. Now, there's a few Democrats, especially the Justice Democrats, the fringe lunatic left that's going to take over the Democratic Party, the AOCs, the Zohans, left-wing contingency of the Democratic Party that hates Jews, would love nothing more than to expose an Israeli blackmail operation that used underage women as prostitutes to ensnare and honeypot the most powerful people on earth, including the Republican president. What a gift to these far left-wing animals that both their most hated enemies would fall into this trap. But who cares? If they did, we deserve to know about it. But the mainstream Democrat doesn't want that list released either. Man, it's disgusting. The prophet of our American decline, the great Ron Paul, once said, bipartisanship is when both sides get together to screw you. And I guess if you're a poor underage kid, it means literally.
So he did sound a little perplexed, the fact that they are not mainstream Democrats. Well, let me just make a little correction to Gerard's statement. They're starting to, the Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries said on the podium, he's not saying we need to release the files. He's saying Trump's getting in trouble because he's not releasing the files. He's not doing this. Richie Torres was on Face the Nation and said Trump's not releasing the files too as well. You know what I'm saying? So they're starting to use it as a weapon and stuff, because I think they know that nobody on both sides, they have agreed, the establishment, that those files don't get released at anything, that people don't know for sure who the actual clients are. So I think they have that. But the reason why they're not capitalizing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, is because they're both on the same side. And you know what I'm saying? They both work together. It still goes back to my argument that AOC and Donald Trump are the same. Your thoughts, Matt?
No, they can talk about it. It doesn't mean anything just because Jeffries is talking about it. He's just observing from a distance, saying, "Hey, Trump is lying because he said he was going to do something. He's not doing it." It doesn't mean they're going to be an actual push by the Democrats. Talking is talking, and we've seen this play in over and over again when it comes to war policy, right? We always see we don't want to do it, but we have to, or we don't want it. Well, look at the other side, but they are all in on it. This is the thing. So this is just add Epstein to the list. But again, this is the biggest scandal of our time, because it opens up so many doors of cover-ups and people's involvement. It's a global syndicate of child trafficking, sex trafficking. It's happening everywhere, not just here. So this is something that, and so, yeah, just because it's being talked about, I don't see it going much further. I think that, and he got a lot of that right. But again, I think there's still a misconception about what's going on the left. Like, what do we even mean when we talk about radical lefties? What does that even mean? I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time, so we know that that's not even really a thing. It's just when people say words, it's just words. We have to look at their actions and their policy. And as we know, all of them across the board have been doing right-wing warmongering policy this whole time. So why wouldn't covering for Epstein it just goes right on that list of things that we can pretend to talk about and be concerned about, but no one's going to actually do anything about it. And until both populist sides on both sides come together and say enough of this scam, enough of this theater, then they're going to continue to bait us with little sound bites that don't really mean anything, because we're not seeing any action. And again, nobody's going to jail.
Yeah. I want to kind of close the show with two things real quick. Since we've ragged on the Democrats and AOC today, we're ragging on the Trump and the conservative movements and kind of praising some of the conservatives coming forward. But we've been giving everybody their medicine. The Democrats, their next move, obviously now they're capitalizing and weaponizing on the whole Epstein situation. They see what's going on. And like I said, a lot of them are not saying we need to see the files right away. They're saying, like, Donald Trump has promised his base the files. He didn't deliver. He promised them, this and that, and he didn't deliver. So that's how they're kind of framing it. But they're going to go a step further. And they've already started doing this out here. Here's Senator Ron Wyden. They're going to try to connect the Epstein files to Russia. Watch this.
Gosh.
Yeah. It's coming.
Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere.
Oh, I think I'm not hearing you.
You hear what he talked about over there? He's talking about Russian banks, right? And where these women were trafficked from. There was most of the women were probably trafficked from the United States. I'm going to tell you that right now, I think, if I had to make a guess. I can't say that for sure, but there were plenty of girls trafficked from here. And there's plenty of Western banks that Epstein used. I mean, Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan Chase and all they had to pay out settlements, right? You know? I don't know. JP Morgan is a Russian bank now, I guess. But, I mean, you see what they're trying to do? I mean, they are obsessed with this shit. And it keeps us in a state of perpetual war, by the way. So it's just nuts, and that's what they wanted to obtain over there in the Ukraine, Russia. I didn't believe it at first. At one point, I really did think that they were trying to find an off-ramp to get out of this disastrous war and move us into a smart city in Kiev. But it seems Mark Sleboda told me this a while ago, and that's when I changed my mind. So then when Trump was talking about it, I never thought he had the power or the ability to end the war. But, they want to still keep the Russia thing going no matter what. No matter what, Vladimir Putin's still an even guy. So now they're tying Jeffrey Epstein into Russiagate. Your thoughts?
So this, I think, is going to back up my theory that it's just words, because as we know about Russiagate, it was a lot of words. It was a lot of, we have the evidence. The FBI has done the investigation. We have the connection. It's all there. We're releasing. So to connect that now is exactly what I was saying earlier before seeing this clip. And I have to say, this is the ultimate example of we're just going to say words. He's just on the Senate floor there saying words that fit his brand, that fit the Democratic Party brand. And that is Russia, Russia, Russia. They don't have to show us any evidence. So whether these accounts, exist or not, it doesn't really matter. He's just saying it, and we're not going to actually see them. If we do see them, it's just going to be a little piece of the puzzle, anyways. Like you said, Craig, they're mostly coming from the United States. So the fact that he's on the floor talking like this is, again, another example of just people are playing their brand. They're saying the words they need to say, and we're not going to actually see any hard evidence on it. But it's going to send us the message that they're looking into it, and we're going to be one step closer to justice when it's just one step closer to protecting the people in power, so they never have to account for their crimes. And that's what this is really about.
I did crosstalk the other day. Really wanted to just really quickly share this. It's about Russia, Ukraine, so I figured we can play it, because you'd be surprised how so many Democrats, listen, they just go along. There were guys at the Bernie Sanders diner that just went along with the whole anti-Russia rhetoric. Like, they really do repeat that. There was a guy who was questioned at one of the primaries or the caucuses, and they're like, well, what's big issues for you as a Democrat voter? Ukraine, Russia? And I was just like, why is Ukraine, Russia a big issue for you when it comes to voting for Democrats, the Democrats supporting that? And to this day, right now, Matt, we still have no Democrats coming forth saying we need to end the bombing and the weaponry to Kiev. And that's a shame, because that's going to continue to go on. Here's a little quick clip that was made by Johnny Tsunami from my RT episode. You can go to the clip. You can check it out really quickly.
I think it's clear right now that Donald Trump has never had control. I believe there was an interview not too long ago where Vladimir Putin was talking about that every single time we get a president in there, and he referred to Obama, said Obama maybe wanted to close Guantanamo Bay, but as soon as they get in, they can't do anything. Well, to be honest with you, I never believed that Donald Trump was going to end this war. I never believed he had the ability or the power to end it. So now they can just continue to play the blame game, and they got the goal they wanted, which is endless war. I think it's clear.
He has no power. He's making no decisions, whether it comes to Epstein, whether it comes to Ukraine, Russia, when it comes to Israel. And this is something Vladimir Putin, I said on the thing, he was talking about Barack Obama. He goes, he can sense, and that's Vladimir Putin only sensing that these presidents want to do something, but they're not the ones calling the shots across the board, Matt. Donald Trump is nothing more than a figurehead.
Yeah. And this goes back to the part that Nick Fuentes got wrong in his assessment, is that the liberals were right the whole time. No, they weren't right. They're out in the street with no king's signs, with no clue of the fact that Trump has absolutely no power. And his one skill is to get on camera and or go on Truth Social because he's good at that, and just say the thing you got to say and make it loud, make it obnoxious, make it bold, make it bully people with whoever you want to bully for the day. And that's what has gotten you this far. But the Epstein thing is going to be the last straw because it's not working anymore. But again, this is the Ukraine situation. You did call it, Craig. You did call that. You said this not only is it going to take, because some people said, well, it's going to take them a long time. It's going to be hard. But you said it's not going to happen at all. And it's very clear as we're sending another $10 billion in weapons through NATO, and he's acting like it's the art of the deal to bring more weapons to Ukraine. Nobody wants to fight this war over there. They're all being used as cannon fodder. We know all this. Lindsey Graham told us down to the last Ukrainian, and we're seeing it through. So another example of something he has absolutely no control of. And I don't want people to think we're giving him cover for that he didn't do anything diabolical. We're just saying that the diabolical part was campaigning and taking people's energy, vote, time, effort, money, everything, their lives. And he told them he was going to do something. He was going to save the day, when the reality is there's no day to be saved, because anybody in these positions of power are just getting consumed by the same thing that they pretended they were fighting against. And we see it time and time again. It's about time that we all figured this out and got on the same team and said no more, and take the system down and start it over. That's the only option we have left. Or we're going to continue going through this over and over. There's going to be another one. There's going to be Obama 3.0 or a Trump 2.0 or a Bernie, whatever it is. It's going to keep going until enough of us wake up and say no more of this crap.
Yeah, they're there to keep the status quo. They're there to keep the status quo. I think when Fiorella said it best, it's just a continuation of the Trump presidency of Joe Biden. And it was almost everything they're doing. It was set up to be a one Republican, one Democrat, bring back the Republican. So you can overreach, right? The crazy left, we got to stop them. They're butchering our children, building bisexual bathrooms, have their pronouns, and they're socialist, want to take over the country. So now, as a conservative base, you allow your president to overreach because I've heard so many Trump people saying, well, somebody's got to do something, just break the system. He's not breaking the system, right? He's doing what the ruling class wants him to do. And, it was Mark Sloboda who convinced me of that. I thought almost 2 years ago, during the Biden administration, I thought they were looking for an off-ramp. I really did. And Mark Sloboda convinced me, like, no, this is what's going to happen, what's going to go on. And after that conversation, I was like, you know what? I think he is too as well. There seemed to be some optimistic from the Russian Federation as far as Donald Trump coming in as maybe ending this war because he said those words. But I believe the whole time too as well. And you didn't see it in the clip. You see it in the whole video. I say, and I believe that Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation knew this was going to happen all along, that it was just going to be nothing more than hot air. Because you saw what Putin said in that interview. They get in, they can't do anything. He knew for quite some time after he went to George Bush Jr. and saying, hey, we have issues with rebels that are being funded by your CIA attacking our citizens. Can you do something about it? And George W. Bush couldn't do anything about it. And he knew right then and there during that presidency that there are other people calling the shots. The president doesn't have the free will. It probably shocked him a little bit because he has a little bit more power in his country than any U.S. president has ever had in our country. Because if you get out of line, they JFK you. We ragged on the Trump campaign today, the Democrats, AOC, Donald Trump Jr., Alex Jones. What about Maha? Well, my good friend Texas Slim from the Beef Initiative and beefmats.com, if you haven't gone to it, it's a sustainable beef organization where they go right from the rancher. And once again, no pesticides, no glyphosate, none of the crap. I mean, they're doing the best they can, but you get good, clean beef going right from the farm to table, your house, cutting out the FDA and everything. He just wrote this down. This is from today. And this was from earlier this morning. Trump just handed Monsanto a get out of jail card, section 453, total immunity for the pesticide giants. No lawsuits, no science, no farmer protections until 2035. And guess who's playing health hero? Cory effing Booger. Maha is on fire. And you can see there's an article attached to it. Democrats weaponize pesticide immunity to split the MAGA-Maha coalition ahead of the midterms. And that's happening. I think enough people have had enough of this whole situation, but it's kind of crazy because I can't remember the name of the act, and I'm sure Ruth is going to tell us inside the, you might know, it was called the Dark Act, I think they called it, where Barack Obama gave complete immunity and control to guess who? Monsanto.
Yeah.
Here is Donald Trump giving cover to Monsanto. It's the same party. It's the same people in play. They don't care about your food. Your food is disgusting. Pesticides, he just gave him a get out of jail free ticket. I mean, it's the same friggin' government across the board, whether it's Barack Obama or Donald Trump. You, the person, are getting fucking are screwed. Not anybody else. Not the oligarch. Not the 1%. They're doing just fine. And the system's not broken. The system is designed to work that way, and it's working swimmingly. Matt, final thoughts?
Yeah, no, the MAGA fallout here from the health initiatives that we saw RFK Jr. Championing going into this HHS position, and it's fail after fail after fail. And you and I know we talked with Steve Kirsch, and he's telling us that he had a back and forth with RFK Jr. and he was told, we got to lay off the vaccine stuff, and you can focus on you can focus on autism, you can focus on big food. So we're like, okay, well, maybe there'll be some breadcrumbs there. And here's another example of no, there's not even any breadcrumbs. You're literally doing the opposite of taking on big food. But by the way, they said, he was going to get the commercials off the TV. That ain't happening either. He's going to get it more like bring them down just a bit, more restrictions, but they're still going to be on, just like New Zealand. We're going to be the two countries that still do pharma commercials. So it's fail after fail after fail. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Trump allowed this to happen. And yeah, it's another blow to something that was supposed to be a real people's movement from the Maha community that championed the fact that Trump at least was going to do something about our failed pharma and food system. But like you said, Craig, they're poisoning us. They're doing it with our medicine. They're doing it with our food. And no one's coming to save the day, because if you want to save the day, they ain't going to let you in a position of power to do that. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. I think that's the lesson here.
Yeah, we're going to have to find a way to do it ourselves. I want to thank everybody for joining the show today. Fiorella was on assignment. Jayme CheeseSlice on the 1s and 2s in the background. Guys, thank you so much. Any way you want to help the show out, the links are down below. I am Craig Pastor-Jardullo. This is Matt Weinglass. Like I said, CheeseSlice on the 1s and 2s. We're going to end the show with a little music out there. Check this out. Great song. This guy's been doing some really good work. We love you. We'll see you soon. Truth Out. We'll be back soon. I'll be with Matt tomorrow. The Last American Vagabond. Excuse me, right? We have going on. What else?
Yes. No, we also have Don DeBar will be checking in with us as well. So we have Don, we got Ryan, Christian. Be a great show tomorrow, guys. So yeah, don't miss that on the Homeless Left tomorrow afternoon.
3 p.m. Eastern, yo. We'll see you then.
War isn't murder, there's money at stake. Kelly the Kushner agrees it's good at real estate. War isn't murder, ask Netanyahu. He's got a song for that and a bomb for you. War isn't murder, it's an old desert faith. It's a nation state sanctioned righteous hate. Let's talk about dead people. I mean dead people. If war isn't murder, it's the vengeance of God. If you can't see the bodies, they don't blow when they're wrong. And the flies don't swarm and the children don't cry. If war isn't murder, good men don't die. So in a short 20 years when you vacation the strip, try not to think about the dead and have a nice trip. War isn't murder, we should all give thanks. I saw it all in a movie, give it up for Tom Hanks. War isn't murder, they don't ship out the poor, and the bullets they fire ain't part of the cure. War isn't murder, land is a right, but the bank's called dibs, it's something you can't fight. Let's talk about dead people. I mean dead people. The dead don't feel honored, they don't feel that brave, they don't feel events, they're lucky if they got graves. Call your dead mother, ask her when she died, it's a deadly silence on the other line. It's a dark sacrifice made on your behalf. So get down on your knees and thank the sweet Lord that war isn't murder.